So this is the elegantly organized desk from which TEHELKA's books pages emerge. And of course, what would TEHELKA be without its books pages? In this week's issue of the magazine, I reviewed This Is How You Lose Her by Junot Diaz. Diaz was actually a big hit at last year's Jaipur Literature Festival, and is probably as acclaimed as any contemporary writer in America right now. He writes relatively slowly, so this collection of short stories is only his third book in 16 years. His novel, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, is a bestseller, won the Pulitzer Prize in 2008. And just last month, in fact, Diaz won a MacArthur Genius Grant, so he won $500,000 to do with pretty much whatever he wants. This Is How You Lose Her is 9 stories, 8 of which feature Junot, and he is a recurring character in Diaz's fiction, sort of Diaz's muse. And like Diaz himself, Junot moved to the United States from the Dominican Republic as a little boy. And that loss, the loss of country, was as traumatic for Diaz as the loss of love, the idea of the loss of love. So Junot's failed relationships, his lost love, are a prism for Diaz to examine all sorts of themes, to examine masculinity, to examine history, to examine the lasting impact for generations of colonialism, of what he calls the Caribbean's history of rape and violence. But this is to, of course, rob Diaz of the sheer entertainment of the language, his very stylish and slangy prose. Writers have to reinvent language, or rather create language anew, find a way to tell their stories. Rushdie had to do it with Midnight's Children, and this is exactly what Diaz does through his use of Spanglish, his particular brand of Spanglish. The way his lyrical, often beautiful English is enhanced by his carefully chosen Spanish. So I guess basically my point is read it. The other book that I want to recommend, and it's a book that I haven't read myself, but I plan to, so this is why I'm discussing it, is Poet of the Revolution. These are the memoirs and poems of Lal Singh Dil. And Lal Singh Dil is, of course, the great poet from Punjab, and he's been translated here into English for the first time. His translator is Nirupama Dutt, who describes him as a lover, a poet, and a madman, all in one. Of course, as she notes, he was also a tea vendor, a Naxalite revolutionary, a daily wage worker, even a mullah. He was born a destitute, a victim of caste discrimination, and this explains, of course, the religious conversion and the embrace of Naxalism. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I think it's very exciting and probably one that you should check out as well. Finally, for next week, I think you should look out for reviews of books by and interviews with Ananya Vajpayee, whose new book, The Righteous Republic, we'll be reviewing and talking to her about. We're also going to be talking to William Dalrymple for his new book. And finally, next week we'll be reviewing Tavleen Singh's memoir, Darbar. Thank you for watching, all 6 of you that is. And I guess if you don't find anything better to do with your 3 minutes next week, we'll see you then.